Hey guys, what's going on? Megan here. All right, Q&A straight from my school community. All right, ask me one question about how to eat for fat loss and testosterone. And I put a little poll here. Let's see the results. Okay, I'm losing fat for aesthetics and the hose, 22 votes. And I'm losing fat for sports and athleticism, 13 votes. Okay, we're all on the same page. A lot of people cap, man. One of the main reasons people try to get shredded is just to look good for the hoes, and there's nothing wrong with that. All right, let's get straight to it. Not a question for myself, but what's the most common mistake people make when trying to lose fat while keeping muscle? Most common mistake. You know what? That's definitely that's the tier list idea. I have a lot of tier lists coming up on mistakes people make for different goals, so that's definitely gonna be on there because there's a lot. But one of them I would say is not eating enough carbs. When people try to cut, they cut their carbs way too low, which makes no sense because now they can't train as hard. And training hard is one of the number one ways to obviously maintain muscle during the cut. So, yeah, protein is nice, but if you cut your carbs too low, now you can't train as hard, you can't recover faster, you can't sleep as well, and your cortisol is through the roof. So now even if your testosterone is somewhat elevated, it means nothing because the T to C ratio is off, right? Testosterone to cortisol ratio. So one of the biggest mistakes I see is people cutting carbs way too low. And again, doing the cut, that is terrible. What else? Another mistake that I see is, by the way, his name is John Foyewa. I wonder where that name is from, Foyewa. But let me give you a thumb up so you can level up. Another mistake I see is people not increasing training frequency. So they forget that when you're cutting, myostatin goes up higher because obviously cortisol goes up higher as well. So you need more training frequency when you're cutting, believe it or not. People forget that you actually need to train more when you're cutting than when you're bulking, right? Because you're in a deficit, and muscle is one of the first things that the body tries to get rid of when you're in a deficit. It's not fat, it's muscle. So you need to keep muscle protein synthesis elevated. You need to keep myostatin low. So cutting while training a muscle once a week, good luck. Now, if you enhance or you have great genetics, that's a different story. All right. So there's many mistakes, but like I said, I'll make a tier list on that. Next, 5'10", his name is AH. Use your real name, guys. 5'10", 212 pounds, probably 25 to 30% body fat, 20 years old. Let's see your FFMI if that's true. All right, 5'10", you say 212 pounds. See how jacked you are. Let's see how jacked you are. 25 to 30% body fat. So let's put you at 25% just to be safe. FFMI 22 to 23, right? So close to 23. I mean, that's pretty fucking jacked, man. So if what you're saying is true, it's a lot of muscle. Okay, let's see. My previous weight of 160 pounds 2 years ago. So that's your goal. Made a fuck ton of money trading and got fat. Bro, that happened to me too, man. It happens to so many people. When we start trading, for one, we sedentary. But two, when you make a lot of money, the more money you make, the more you actually get lazy. Because especially if you have the warrior gene or ADHD, you're like, there's no stress. So, but yeah, my previous weight of 160 pounds. I love how honest you are. I like honest people, man, because you guys know that's my thing. Brutal honesty is priceless. Life is too short. There's no reason to try to act all perfect and whatever. So, anyway, I'm going on a straight cut, 1,000 to 1,200 calories. Holy shit, bruh. 15,000 steps a day. Bruh, 1,000 to 1,200 calories, that is overkill. You're going to lose so much muscle. But let's see. I feel good on it and I can sustain it. My diet is 2 to 4 fried eggs in the morning, 3 to 4 Fairlife protein shakes, and a small meal of chicken/beef. My testosterone feels good even after cutting calories. What would you change from my diet for optimal tests and keeping muscle considering I'm on a straight cut? Okay, so 1,000 to 1,200 calories, this is something I would give to a client who's obese, like really obese, right? I'll put them on very low calorie diets. Sometimes we'll go as low as 500, right? Mainly from protein and fiber and healthy fats because they have so much body fat that calories is not an issue. Their body has plenty of reserves. But someone who's not obese and who has a lot of muscle, I will rarely put them on 1,000 calories. Again, there's some exceptions. There are times I do that with clients when we're trying to, meet the deadline, or if they're fucked up or they had a big cheat meal that was bigger than expected. don't get me wrong, there are times when I will deploy that strategy, but 1,000 calories every day, that's gonna wreck your hormones. Again, if you feel great, at the end of the day, to me, KPIs have the final say. So if your key performance indicators, your KPIs, are telling you that, everything is fine, fuck what I say, right? If you're sleeping fine, you have morning wood, your sex drive is high, your motivation is high, your aggression is high, your strength is not dropping too fast in the gym, keep it up. Because who knows, you're probably even getting more than 1,000 calories without even knowing it, you know? Remember, guys, when we pick a calorie goal, no one is actually hitting that shit. When we say, "Oh, I'm eating 2,000 calories," the standard deviation is wide as fuck, right? Some people are probably getting 2,500, and some are getting 1,500. So again, if you feel good, I wouldn't change anything. Let me give you a like. But if you start to notice side effects like body temperature going down, fatigue, you know, difficulty with sleep, whatever, you might have to increase your calories. Also, you're only eating 1,000 calories. What's your macro split? How much protein are you getting? How much fats? Are you natural? You know? But anyway, but yeah, I would definitely say the calories are so low, man. Next, how can we make sure nitrogen retention is optimized when carb backloading? Train hard, eat enough protein, eat enough carbs. I mean, it's really that simple. What increases nitrogen retention? Well, one is training, right? Volume, right? Mechanical tension. And is obviously eating enough protein, right? And I'm not going to mention the basics, right? Because that's what are the basics: sleep, water, hydration, micronutrients, whatever. So to optimize nitrogen retention when doing carb backloading, just I don't know what to tell you because it's part of the program already. There's not much else to do other than just dial in a little bit more, you know? For example, if you're already getting your protein, make sure most of that's coming from high quality animal protein sources as opposed to like, vegan protein sources unless they're complete proteins. Yeah, there's not much you could do, other than just follow the protocol. Stick to the basic protocol, right? Follow the 10 testosterone commandments and you'll be fine. But to answer your question, yeah, train hard, frequently, of course, because muscle protein synthesis comes back down, right, within 24 to 48 hours after a training session. So train frequently. Doesn't have to be nucleus overload, but again, frequently, more than twice a week per muscle. Yeah, eat enough protein, eat enough carbs, right? The issue that I see most people make is just eating low carbs. People do not eat enough carbs. There are so many men out there who eat 200 grams of carbs and think that's enough, right? It's enough if you're sedentary, right? But if you're active, getting your steps, training, doing cardio, HIIT, sparring, whatever, you need a lot of carbs. And if you don't, your body's going to convert your expensive ass protein that you're eating into glucose. So what's the point? You might as well just eat carbs. Next, what is more important for testosterone while fat loss? More carbs or more fat? Okay, so this is a tricky question because, as always, it depends, right? There's a limit under which, if you reduce your fats, your hormones will tank, right? But that limit is a lot lower than people think, right? So, for example, like for the average man, if you're getting 50 grams of fats, even though it's not like super high, right? That's enough, assuming it's around 20% of your calories, that's enough to maintain some hormonal function. It's not going to be maximized, but you're going to be fine. You're going to be okay, right? The goal is not to be perfect. It's to be okay, right? Because when you're cutting, you're never going to be perfect because you're literally in a deficit. So do not go below 20% fats. Now, if you getting 20% of your calories from fats, right? At that point, carbs become way more important for testosterone. For the simple fact that even though carbs don't directly increase testosterone, they increase the testosterone to cortisol ratio, which is more important than testosterone itself, right? Because like I always tell you guys, it doesn't matter if you have 1,000 nanogram of testosterone. If your cortisol is through the roof, that's almost useless, right? Because they compete for actions, not just sentences, but actions. Also, it doesn't matter if your total testosterone is over 1,000. If your free testosterone is garbage. That's what a lot of carnivore bros run into because they think, oh, I could cut my carbs. Carbs are not essential. Retard. You need carbs. right? So again, I would say when you're cutting, as long as you're getting at least 20% of calories from fats, right? As long as you're getting essential fats, carbs are actually more important in that case. Now, obviously, if you're not getting at least 20% of your calories from fats become more important, but that's mainly because they're essential. So to answer your question, I would say as long as you're getting 20% of calories from fats, minimum, carbs are more important, mainly because of the testosterone cortisol ratio, also because of the fact that you need free testosterone, not just total testosterone. And that's not even mentioning the effect that carbs have on DHT, on IGF-1, training performance, glycogen, and all that stuff. Guys, there's a reason why people try to reinvent the wheel, and it drives me insane. There's a reason why the world's best athletes who've been training forever, who hired the most well renowned experts in the world who test every ounce of their performance, right? Eat a high carb diet. It's because they tried everything. They tried all the fucking carnivore, this, keto, this. They tried everything to try to get an edge in competition. And after over 100 years, the whole world has realized that a high carb diet is S tier for performance. Look at soccer players, look at basketball players, look at MMA fighters, look at football, American football players, look at all the major sports. They are eating 50 to 70% of their calories from carbs. You think they're just clueless. You think they don't have, PhDs in nutrition working for them or working with them to help them optimize performance. Use your brains, guys. You know? This whole keto carnivore thing is driving me crazy because it's misleading so many young men. But whatever. People just love the new shiny object on the block, right? Next. And by the way, this was from Mike W. The one before that was Arc Fisted. Arc Fisted? Bruh, come on, man. That is not your name. Arc Fisted. That is so suspect. But anyway. Let's see. Santiago Coro, height 176 centimeters, 76 kg, 16% body fat, FMI 20. Okay. Should I prioritize lean cuts of protein even though they can lead to disruptions in T? Parentheses, poor T promoting fat yet high lean muscle protein tendencies via losing content. Okay. Keep it simple, right? Like I always say. You want to eat lean cuts of protein? Yeah, sure, but make sure you're getting your fats at the end of the day. That's all that matters. Keep it simple, guys. As long as you're getting your fats at the end of the day, that's all that matters. Right? Getting the total amount is number one. The timing, that's like step 3. The quality will be like step 2. But the most important thing is, are you getting your total amount of micro and macronutrients? In your case, you could eat lean cuts of protein, right? You're gonna get your leucine and whatever, your increase mTOR signaling, increase muscle growth. But make sure you're getting your fat somewhere else. If you're not getting them from the lean cut of protein, get it somewhere else. Keep it simple. All that matters is, are you hitting those macro and micro goals at the end of the day? All right, next we have Andy. Let's go. I like Andy. Age 19, 5'10", 210 pounds, 20% body fat. He put, avoided losing fat for hoes. This isn't really related. Wait, this isn't really eating related, but it is hose related. Fucking love Andy, man. It's hose related. It's taking a gap year before going to college to work on Max and Triple. That's called a valid thing to do. You answered one of my Q&A and said college is the best place for cheeks. Dude, guys, college is goated for cheeks, man. I'm not even gonna front. It is goated. Oh my goodness. Because it's the only time in your life where you have such a high concentration and density of big booty holes in the same place, you know, same age, they're obviously legal, they're old enough, they're not too old, not too young, around their 20s, right? They're all wearing booty shorts and shit during the summer, they're wearing yoga pants during the winter, right? It's the only time in your life where you have so many badass hoes in the same place every day. Every day. Think about it, where else? Well, the gym, okay, sure. But sometimes you go to the gym at the wrong time. It's a sausage fest, right? Where else? Club, come on. Like, where else almost every day you're gonna have such a high density, of cheeks? It's college. By far. By far. But anyway, let's see. And like I told you guys, dating is all about, it's volume, right? It's all about volume, right? It's just having a low win rate, but high, you know, um, attempts, right? So the more women you're exposed to, even if you have a 1% chance of success, like I always say, guys, for the guys out there with anxiety and who think they have to be perfect and look like, the most handsome guy in the world to get laid, if you have a 1% chance of getting cheeks, you just have to talk to 100 people, right? Right? 100 girls. Think about that, right? And no one has a 1% chance. Even Smeagol doesn't have a 1% chance. So you combine college with a confident mentality and a decent triple S score, and you constantly trying, you know, you're gonna get laid. That's how, guys, that's how I got lucky. I call it luck, but it's really just math. It's just math. For every girl that said yes and I got her, you know, cheeks clap, there's 80, 50 that said no. But that's fine. I just kept it moving. I was like, all right, next. But you guys want to keep using that whole sniper mentality where you want to go 1 for 1, 1 for 1. You want to have that 90% win rate. It's not how it works. Even if you look super good, it's still not how it works, right? Even handsome guys get rejected, believe it or not. All right, so let's see. To answer your question, um, man, I went off of. See, I gotta stay focused, right? We talking about fat loss here. You said it's taking a gap year before going to college to work. I would not take that year off because, again, you're still getting a benefit from being around these women, right? You're getting the dopamine increase, you're getting the increase in testosterone, the increase in amygdala activation. So I would not take that year off because that's just the brain trying to procrastinate. I would do both at the same time. You could go to college while working on your triple S score. You could do both. Next, Planda Shimray. Bruh. All right, 5'7", 78 kg, FFMI 22, body fat 21%. Lifts 100 kg, 5 reps, 3 sets. For what? You didn't even put the exercise. You just put lifts, 100 kg, 5 reps. What is it? Is it bench press? Is it rows? Is it dips? Is it weighted pull-ups? Anyway, plan to hit 130 kg, but unable to go higher due to grip issues. So what do you? Is it deadlift? I don't even know. Anyway, uh, I don't know what you're asking here. You're saying, wait, I'm unable to go higher. This is a fat loss Q&A, bro. What are you doing? This is a fat loss Q&A. But to answer your question, if grip is an issue, I wonder what the answer is. Straps, bro. I don't understand why you guys don't use straps. If you want to train your forearms separately, right? Unless it's the heavy day of HSP, then you could do a compound movement. But for the most part, if you're not using straps, you are not getting the most out of your back workouts, out of your pulls, your rows, because your grip will always, I repeat, your grip will always fail before your back. Always. It's a smaller muscle, right? So when you go, I just reached failure on pull-ups and you're not using straps on weighted pull-ups, you did not reach failure on your back. You reach failure on your arms, mainly your forearms. Same thing with rows or whatever. So use straps. Anyway, next question. Help a lazy as fuck calorie counter out. Any intuitive eating approach that will cover calories and macros when I'm looking for the whole family? How much should I serve myself? And should I rely on hunger or planned meals? Low daytime appetite means I undereat. Goal, recomposition, or a slight cut to drop fat, holding back my calisthenic skills. Appreciate any tips, Megan. Okay. Oh shit, that's tapioca. Let's go. It's my nigga. All right. So okay, you asked a bunch of questions here. So I would say, eat 3 meals a day. Keep it simple, right? Eat 3 to 5 meals a day. Or let's say 5. All right, let's say 5, right? Because if you're awake for 16 hours and you want to eat every 3 hours, we'll say 5. 16 divided by 3 is about 5 point something. So eat 5 times a day, right? And try to make sure that every meal, obviously using the testosterone diet principles, make sure that every meal just has 5 things. If you don't want to have to count macros, track chronometer or whatever, make sure every meal that you eat has 5 things, right? An animal protein source, a fruit, right? Nutrient-dense fruit, right? A nutrient-dense green vegetable, so we'll say like broccoli or spinach, right? A starchy carbohydrate, right? Potatoes, sweet potatoes, quinoa, wheat bran, whatever. And a probiotic, source, right? So sauerkraut, kimchi, whatever, right? Kefir, right? That's it. If you eat 5 meals a day and every meal has a small portion of each of those 5 things, you'll be fine. Your plate is going to be colorful as fuck. It's going to be micronutrient dense. It is impossible to eat 5 meals a day comprising of those 5 categories, right? Protein source from animal protein, fruit, veggie, starchy carb, and probiotic source without getting your macros and your micros. It is almost impossible, right? And if you want, you could just type it up in Chronometer once to kind of to get an idea of what it looks like. You could add a few supplements here and there depending on what you're lacking, and that's it. You'll be fine. So that's my intuitive eating approach. But I still think most men should track their calories because unless you eat the same thing every day. If you eat the same thing every day, you don't have to track, right? But if you don't eat the same thing every day, or you tend to undereat or overeat, track your calories. It does not take that long. Let's see. Should I rely on hunger or plan meals? You should plan meals. Have everything planned and automated. I cannot stress this enough. Have everything planned and automated because else you're gonna go too long without eating, right? Which might lead to you overeating or undereating, right? And also, if you wait to the last minute, now you got to disconnect from whatever you were working on, whether it's your business or school. Now you got to think about food and ratios. No, plan everything, automate your life so you could be as efficient as possible. All right, next we have Alejandro Munoz. Hope I didn't butcher your name. Bro, how to hit all micronutrients plus boron, fiber, omegas, monounsaturated fats, all on 1,000 calorie deficit. Even with 500 calorie deficit, everything you put in your mouth, pause, has to be nutrient dense, else you'll be deficient in something. Not to mention carb backloading on the cut can really sacrifice precious calories for non-nutrient dense carbs. Okay, so again, the testosterone diet checks all of the boxes. You're getting all of your macros, right? Again, for the average person, you obviously have to customize it based on, your stats. And you're getting all your micronutrients. You're getting boron, you're getting fiber, you're getting omega-3s, you're getting monounsaturated fats on the testosterone diet. And I made it to be low calorie. I made it to be 2,000 calories, which is very low. For most men, 2,000 calories is low. Why did I make it so low? So that it checks all the boxes for people who are cutting. Because if you're bulking, it's so easy, right? You just eat the testosterone diet and you just increase the portion sizes. That's it, right? So bulking is easy. So that's why I made the T diet to be low calorie so that people can increase the portion sizes as they need to. Why did I pick 2,000 calories? Because most men should not be eating less than 2,000 calories. Unless you're 5'2", and then you sit on your ass all day. But most men should not be eating significantly less than 2,000, right? Are there exceptions? Of course. If you're obese, if you're on an aggressive cut, yes. But you should make up for it by moving more, increasing your NEAT, your non-exercise activity thermogenesis. So increase your steps, train more frequently, don't sit on your ass all day, and you're not going to have to go below 2,000 calories. A lot of you guys have to go below 2,000 because you walk like 3,000 steps a day. You go to the gym maybe, every now and then, and you do shitty-ass bro splits that burn nothing. All right, next you have... Raif, okay. All right. 5'9", 160 pounds, 17% body fat. 5'9", 160. Yeah, you need muscle, bro. What? Let me see. 5'9". Let's see how jacked you are. 5'9", 160. And then you said what? 17% body fat. Yeah, this is bad, bro. Your FMI is at the highest, like 20. Yeah, this is pretty bad. 133 pounds, fat-free mass. Yeah, you got to put on some mass. And you 17% body fat, so you skinny fat? Come on, bro. Hop on my programs. Hire me for coaching. Do something. But let's see. Been cutting for a while. Oh, God, on top of that, he's cutting. Been cutting for a while at 500-calorie deficit. My goal is to drop down to 10 to 12% body fat. Is my FMI too low? Yes, nigga. Your FMI is mad low. To cut down to that, should I lean bulk for a bit before getting that low? And if so, at what point? Or should I just keep cutting down till I reach my goal? Okay. So, one, I keep telling you guys, get coaching, man. Because if this thing was easy, if everyone could do this by themselves, coaches like myself would not exist. Yes, it's a shameless plug. I don't give a fuck. It's the solution, right? Get coaching, because especially if you're skinny fat. If you, the people that don't need coaching are people who are like have good genetics, so they have a good body composition. They only have to worry about one or two factors, right? When you're skinny fat, you gotta juggle so many different factors, right? That you just end up wasting time. Get coaching or dial in on all my free services, free books, whatever, and to try to put the pieces together. Because I already have so many questions. You know, first, are you actually 17% body fat? What if you're higher? And if you actually 17% body fat um, at 5'9", 160, it also depends on how you look. I don't have any pictures of you. I don't see where you're storing your fat. Some people are 17% body fat and it's all in the midsection. Some it's in their legs, So there's a lot about you that I don't know. But I would say if you're skinny fat, first, try to avoid aggressive cuts and also obviously avoid dirty bulking, right? Cut those out. You're not going to do an aggressive cut. You're not going to do a dirty bulk, right? So you're either going to recomp or you're going to do a small cut. Again, this depends on where you store your fat. Is it in your face? Is it in your midsection? Is it in your legs, your glutes, right? But one thing for sure, based on the stats you're giving me, rule out a dirty bulk, rule out an aggressive cut. It's either going to be a small cut or body recomposition. Because if you try to bulk right now at 17% body fat, you're going to get too close to 20. And that's assuming you're 17. What if you're actually 20%? Because a lot of people underestimate, So I would say, yeah, either do a small cut, but you're going to have to train like a madman. Train like you're being hunted. Train like it's the cell games, because skinny fat people, we need muscle. I know I have skinny fat genetics. You guys know my journey when I was bodybuilding. You need muscle. It's what's going to help you not just look better, but it's going to help you, not have to cut your calories too low when you're trying to get rid of that stubborn belly fat. All right, let's speed this up. Next, we have Mark Spanos. Let me give you a thumbs up. All right, before I was 6 feet 2, 65 kg, 17% body fat. Now I'm 6 feet 2, 80 kg, 14% body fat, 2 years training. Okay. How would you use carb backloading on an off day, as well as what time is it best to train while doing carb backloading? Just did dumbbell shoulder press, 30 kg for 10 reps. 2 months ago was 20 kg for 8 reps. Okay, good. For one, you're tracking your lifts, which is really good. People who track their lifts make better progress, right? You cannot improve what you don't measure. So I'm glad you're tracking your lifts. It looks like you're very disciplined with your shit. So big props. You're 6 feet 2. You lucky motherfucker. So that's great. Huge frame. As far as carb backloading on an off day, it's simple, right? The goal of carb backloading is to simply replenish your depleted muscle glycogen stores right after training. So if you're able to replenish your glycogen stores after training, meaning you got enough carbs, depending on how brutal your workout was, your size, the next day, there's no reason to eat a fuck ton of carbs because you only have to replenish liver glycogen at that point, right? Which can only hold about 100 grams, 100 to 120 grams. You know what I mean? So on an off day, you don't need a lot of carbs because assuming your muscle glycogen is already replenished from the day before, right? So the next day, you're only going to need just a little bit of carbs. Might not even need carbs at all, right? Because that's the purpose of carbohydrates. That's the purpose of, carb backloading, is to just replenish muscle glycogen stores, right? Your muscles can hold 400 to like 600 grams of carbs. Your liver can only hold like 100 to 120. So after a brutal training session, assuming you're doing full body, you lost a lot of that muscle glycogen. That's what you need to carb backload for. So to answer your question, what do you do on your off day? Well, it depends. If you already replenish your muscle glycogen stores, there's no need to keep eating more and more and more carbs. Now, to keep it simple, let's say it's an off day, but you're still active, meaning you're still getting your steps, you're doing some cardio, which I think most men should. On your off day, you should still move around. To keep it simple, you could keep eating the same amount of carbs every single day, including off days. But that's assuming that you're very active, right? Because you don't want that to spill over into fat. There's more detail. I'm trying to keep it simple. All right, next. What are the 5 staple foods you'll be eating every day to cover as many micronutrients, bang for your buck foods, while also being in a 500 caloric deficit? This is from Kane Sweeney. All right, let me give you a thumbs up. Five staple foods. Again, if I could only eat five foods for the rest of my life, like I told you guys, it would be an animal protein source, a nutrient dense fruit, nutrient dense green vegetable, nutrient dense starchy carbohydrate, right, for glycogen purposes, and free tea and stuff like that, and a probiotic source. So for the protein source, I would pick either eggs or steak or salmon. It's very hard to pick one because they all have huge benefits. So it'll be either eggs, steak, salmon, shit, maybe even milk, depends, right? For the fruit, it'll be like kiwi or blueberries or pineapple or again anything, any nutrient dense fruit. Maybe raisins. For veggies, easy spinach or broccoli or kale. For probiotic, kefir or sauerkraut. And for the starchy carb, it'll be either quinoa or potatoes or sweet potatoes or plantains. Doesn't matter. I'm just gonna pick one of those five categories and I'll be fine. All right, guys, we hit the well over the limit. Hope this helps. Hire me for coaching. Join the SKOOL community or buy my ebooks. Whatever the fuck you want to do. I'm out of here.